All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is The Grand Canyon Discovery That Terrifies the Whole World. Guys, we're here for it. Let's go. Let's go and jump into this immediately.
The Grand Canyon is a lot of things. For one, it's visually stunning, but
Absolutely.
more than anything, it's big.
Yeah, it's grand.
And when something is big, it's easy for stuff to get lost. And some of the lost stuff that's turned up inside the Grand Canyon has been truly mind-bending levels of odd. These are the 20 strangest things ever discovered at the Grand Canyon.
20 strangest things.
Number 20. Cliff collapse reveals fossils. It's always fascinating when new fossils are discovered. With each finding, science makes a step towards progress in its understanding of the way the world is formed and changed throughout its history. But when fossils literally capture a moment in time, then that's the cause to be extra amazed. When part of the Grand Canyon had a cliff collapse back in 2016, a Norwegian geologist named Alan Krill went poking about in the rocks that had fallen, and he made an awesome discovery. As a visiting professor at the University of Nevada, Krill had taken a bunch of students out hiking in the geological wonder that is the Grand Canyon when he saw the fossils. He took photographs of the fallen rocks and shared them with some colleagues, and it transpired that these fossils were the footprints of two creatures that had taken a walk across a sand dune about 313 million years ago.
Very, very narrow digits. Probably their claw.
Yeah, guys, I expect a lot of this to happen, though.
Sand dune
like
would have eventually become the Grand Canyon, and their footprints would be encased in the rock of that epic landscape for millions of years before a shift in the rocks revealed their tiny part of the story to the world once again. These fossils are currently the national park's oldest fossilized vertebrate tracks, but who knows what else could be inside that incredible landscape.
And they're just left there, like, in the public? They're not, like, you know... No? Closed off?
Now it's time for the sweet topic. This is the Grand Canyon discovery that terrifies the whole world. Because nobody knows who carved it, but buried near the bottom of the canyon's chasm, explorers found a peculiar rock formation that seems to resemble that of a giant hand. Because of how much like a hand it looks, there's no way this is naturally occurring. Somebody put it there, but the question is who and why.
I don't know, bro. I mean, we've seen like a lot of things like around the world that were not, carved by anyone. Nature did it. It just so happened that we, as humans, in our brain, like to make shapes into things that we recognize, right? I mean, it's like the people who look at clouds and see things that they see their old, deceased ancestor in the clouds, bro. I mean, it's plausible that it could be carved, right? But at the same time, I think that we're just putting like our brain onto it. Like what you said, hand, right? I think everyone saw a hand.
Based on the condition it's in, we have to assume it's 100 years old or more. But what do you think? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below using the hashtag #SweetTopic. Number 19. The Great Unconformity. One of the craziest things that's been discovered in the Grand Canyon is actually not there at all. Right. Mysterious. This is the thing that is known as the Great Unconformity, a feature of the erosion of the rock in the Grand Canyon, in which there's evidence of the geological change in the area over a long period of time. The unconformity is that there is actually a massive part of the geologic record that is missing in the Grand Canyon, about 1 billion years worth to be precise. So how does it happen? Well,
like something made an entire layer of sediment, basically, disappear, basically.
How can 1 billion years worth of rock layers just be missing? There are a couple of different theories about this, but the main one would suggest that since the part that is not there is the surface between the Tapiat sandstone and the metamorphic rocks of the Granite Gorge, it is a period of time in history of the world known as the Snowball Earth. This is a time when almost the entire planet was covered in ice during the period of glaciation, and the places on Earth where the Great Unconformity exists, like in the Grand Canyon, were affected by the Snowball Earth. When glaciers move, they tend to erode sediment and drag it away from any underlying rock, which could explain how so much rock had shifted and is no longer present where it would otherwise be expected to be. This is also possible that the rocks simply didn't form during that period in these areas, but it's not possible at present to determine exactly how or why this happened. Number 18. Cave of the Domes.
Cave
There
of the
is only
Domes.
one official cave that is open to the public in the Grand Canyon, and
I wonder why.
it's actually a network of underground caves and is super interesting to anyone who is into hiking and poking around in dark holes.
Main entrance, the main entrance.
Because, guys, there are a lot of conspiracies that kind of float around this region of Earth.
It's a hike down to the cave system of the Cave of the Domes near the area of Horseshoe Mesa at the end of Grandview Trail, and not only is the cave itself kind of cool, a hike there takes you away from the more busy village area and into a part of the Grand Canyon with yet more spectacular views. There is an old miner's cave with limestone domes that have been gradually eroded over the millions of years. The cave is dry and dark and eerily quiet, and the signatures scratched into the cave wall add a nice spooky element. These are actually just the markings of visitors from the 1900s. Nowadays, you're encouraged to write your own in a visitor's book instead.
Right,
Number
bro.
17.
But why is it called Cave of the Domes?
Nautiloid fossils. This next old rock is a coiled nautiloid fossil that was discovered in the Kebab Formation in the Grand Canyon. Finding a sea creature inland like this might seem a bit weird, but
No,
the area has
not
changed
really.
somewhat in the 270 million years since the creature was alive. The area that the fossil was discovered in is covered in limestone that was created during an era when the Grand Canyon was actually covered by a shallow sea. This creature was a long ago relative of modern-day cephalopods like squid, and it would have lived on the seafloor and used its tentacles to catch prey. Apparently, this is one that is known as a holotype specimen,
Nah, I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks.
meaning that it was actually used to identify and describe a new species called something I can't begin to pronounce.
Bro, try it. Bro, please try it just for the sport of things.
16. The split twig figurines. All the way back in 1933, a bunch of discoveries were made in various caves across the Grand Canyon. These are split twig figurines, and they are really old. Usually crafted from a single twig that has been split, hence the name, these shapes are often willow sticks that are bent and folded into intricate shapes to make the figures of animals.
I'm going to forecast that there was some like ancient tribe that lived here, most likely, and these were like toys for kids or something, most likely.
There are several different designs that have been found all throughout the Grand Canyon, but the most typical are those that are shaped like deer or bighorn sheep. Occasionally, there are pieces that have been shaped to resemble spears. These figures were found in 15 different caves across the region and have been dated to 2,000 to 4,000 years ago. These split twig figurines have been found in many places across the western states of America. There are variations in the styles of wrapping and folding that are used, and it appears from radiocarbon dating that they were made in many places across the region for at least 1,700 years. They offer a look at
Surprised that carbon dating didn't say a million.
the people who lived in the area in the past and some of the ways that they lived. Were these toys, or perhaps they were pieces of art or used for religious
They were toys.
purposes? What do you think? Go ahead and have all your opinions in the comments section down below.
They were
'cause
toys.
I know that you want to. Number 15. Uranium mine. If you've
Uranium
not
mine.
yet felt even remotely terrified by the stuff that I've shown you from the Grand Canyon discoveries, then this next thing may actually be the one that gives you a mild sense of concern. This is the really alarming trend in uranium mining in a region that is not only the most extraordinary geological landscape possible, but is also home to at least 11 Native American tribes and is a literal national park. Yes, mining for uranium, that is the extremely deadly radioactive junk used in nuclear power production and nuclear weapons, is being done around the outside of the park boundaries. But the thing with uranium, and its pollution, is that it doesn't really care about boundaries when it's leaking into the earth, or contaminating the water supply, or causing untold long-term damage to the natural environment.
And everything
Not to
else.
mention the people and the animals that live there. The Grand Canyon National Park Service is working to keep uranium mining out of the park itself. You would think that this place at least would have a degree of protection from this kind of stuff, but the almighty dollar and its associated greed knows no bounds. Uranium mining near the Grand Canyon began in the 1950s in a place known as Orphan Mine. This is just 2 miles from the Grand Canyon Village, and there have been no fewer than 8 uranium mines all around the Grand Canyon National Park. One, which is in operation today, is threatening the springs inside the Grand Canyon with contamination. Huge efforts are in place to try and protect this region from the devastating impact of uranium mining. There's now a law that prevents new mining claims from being staked. But mines that already have...
Listen. As long as we don't actually find uranium like within the depths, let's say, of the Grand Canyon, then I think we're good, right? Just don't allow people to test anything, because I'm almost positive you're going to find a lot of crazy precious minerals inside of there, bro.
have valid existing rights.
And it used to be like the bottom of like a gigantic river, guys. Oh yeah.
Are allowed to continue. It is a risky business, but hopefully the continued efforts for protection will eventually make uranium mining illegal across the whole region.
We'll see.
Number 14. Grand Canyon Cavern Hotel. A stay at the Grand Canyon Cavern Hotel in Arizona is unlike any other boring box-shaped hotel room on Earth.
Okay.
This place has a suite, which it claims is the largest, deepest, darkest, quietest motel in the entire world. That's quite the claim, but they are probably right. This hotel room is over 65 million years old and located at 220 feet below the surface of the Earth.
Like, so that you don't care about bugs, right? Listen, I absolutely hate bugs, and something tells me that bugs love this place.
This is the largest dry cavern in the United States, and if you book this particular room, you'll have it all to yourself.
Okay.
The caverns were formed 65 million years ago from the limestone, when the Grand Canyon was the site of an ancient sea that cut across North America. This place was a highlight to stop on old Route 66 and was designed to be a tourist destination. They run tours of the underground cavern as well as hotel rooms and the unique opportunity to spend the night in the cave itself. But
Now, don't get me wrong. This sounds really cool. Like, really cool, though.
what do you think? Would you like to sleep in a cave? Or
Grand
would it
Canyon
all
Cavern.
be just a little bit too spooky? Go
It's a
ahead
little-
and get involved in the comments section down below.
It's a little spooky, bro.
Number 13.
And buggy.
Horseshoe Canyon Petroglyphs. Horseshoe Canyon is actually in an area to the west of Green River and the north of Canyonlands National Park in Utah. So, not the Grand Canyon, but, never mind. It's still interesting anyway. These are the petroglyphs.
Oh, that hotel is closed, guys, apparently. But they are still allowing tours to happen, guys. Or how about this? Or if you want to pay for it, in basically a wild fee, you can actually stay there still. But basically, they're saying that they're going through a closure, guys. But all right, either way.
Glyphs and pictographs of Horseshoe Canyon. In fact, this type of rock art is so well known in the area that it has its own category. It's known as Barrier Canyon style rock art. These petroglyphs, that is the art that's made on the surface of a rock by removing layers of scratching and picking and otherwise carving it. There have been humans in Horseshoe Canyon for as far back as 9000 BC.
Bro, look
This
how
is
tall
when
it look-
Paleo-Indians
Oh, no.
were known to have hunted large mammals in the area. There is evidence that early people here hunted mastodons and mammoths across the southwest region. It's believed that Native American people lived in the canyon until about 1300 AD. The main area in which there are petroglyphs is the part of the canyon known as the Great Gallery. Here, the images are well preserved and numerous. The panel of art is about 200 feet long and 15 feet high, and the art mostly depicts human-shaped figures that are life-sized and up to 7 feet tall. Number 12. Shasta Ground Sloth. A supersized sloth may not sound like the most terrifying of animals.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, these things are the cute and sleepy creatures that are often drawn as sweet little illustrations on greeting cards and baby
Nah.
clothing, aren't they?
Have you seen the claws on the ones that exist right now? Imagine the claws being bigger. Pass.
Well, the Megatherium was much less cute of a cartoon and more of a colossal carnivore. So put what you think you know about sloths to the side for a moment. Back around 5 million years ago, there was a very particular type of ground sloth that hung around in South America.
Okay.
These were up to 10 times the size of today's sloths, and they
10
could weigh
times,
up to
okay.
4 tons. Yes, that's right. These things were elephant-sized. They also
Whoa.
walked on their hind legs like people do, and this little fact makes it the largest upright walking bipedal mammal that has ever lived. Although not strict carnivores, the general shape and structure of the Megatherium would suggest that they likely hunted other animals as well as gathering food from their habitats. Although some extinct ground sloths grew as big as elephants, there's evidence of some slightly smaller ground sloths that inhabited the Grand Canyon. These were the Shasta ground sloths that lived there during the last ice age. The Grand Canyon was cooler and wetter than it is nowadays, and it was full of vegetation, which would have been a good thing for such a massive herbivore. Skulls of these creatures have been discovered in caves, and there were also pieces of fur and even sloth poo that is still stinky today. The cave
Still stinky.
is dry and kept at a stable temperature, which allowed for these things to stay remarkably well preserved for as long as 11,000 years. Weird! Number 11.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be honest, bro. If those things still existed, they'd be annihilated. So I guess they wouldn't exist any longer. Like specifically that size, they also eat meat. Yeah, no, I don't think that we would allow them to exist.
Pseudoscorpions. Between 2005 and 2007, researchers were studying the stuff in a cave in the northern part of the Grand Canyon when they happened upon a couple of scorpion-type creatures that they thought might be brand new, or at least undocumented until that time. They took a further 7 years of rigorous study to be able to fully determine that they were indeed a new species, but they were not scorpions in the true sense. They were actually pseudoscorpions, because although they did look like scorpions, they did not have the tail with the venomous stinger that characterizes those species. Instead, these cave-dwelling creatures have their poisonous stinging parts in their pinchers. They are also adapted to the darkness to such an extent that they don't have eyes.
Okay.
It's creepy and still dangerous even if they are tiny. They only measure about 0.12 inches in length, and even so, you wouldn't want to step on one in a dark cave, now would
Right.
you?
Yeah, don't worry. I won't be in the cave.
Number 10. The Chiricahua leopard frog. This frog species is known for its distinctive pattern of spots, which is how it got the leopard part of its name. Well, duh. These frogs can be found all across the southwest of the United States, which includes the Grand Canyon, and it was first discovered in the Chiricahua Mountains of Arizona back in the late 1800s. These days, this species is considered to be vulnerable to extinction as its water supplies are becoming more scarce and droughts are becoming more common. Its habitat is threatened, and there is a type of fungus that is destroying its natural environment in ponds and springs and other freshwater spaces. In fact, this frog, although once common across the region, is now missing from 80% of its previously known habitats. Well, the small green spotty frog is not what should scare us. The lack of it where it once thrived is, however, a terrifying prospect for the future of all life on Earth. Number 9. The Supai Village. One of the most remote communities in the whole of the United States,
The Supai
Super
Village.
is inside of the Havasupai Indian Reservation in the Grand Canyon of Arizona. This tiny Native American community can only be reached by foot, horseback, or perhaps a helicopter. There are around 200 people that are living in the village, which is the capital of Havasupai Indian Reservation. The landscape in the village and the surrounding area is staggeringly beautiful. It has waterfalls and blue pools, as well as those remarkable formations of red rock. Although remote, there are opportunities for tourists to visit the village. They can take a mule ride or a trek out there, and it's possible to stay.
All right, guys, listen. So basically, they're only saying that you can kind of get there with either walking, hiking, or with a or on horseback, right? But almost positive you could probably do like a UTV or like a dirt bike. Right? To give you a heads up.
Stay overnight and enjoy the extraordinary landscape and local culture.
Alice, today the mailman's coming behind me. Oh, okay.
Nearby, there are also famous places
Yeah, it's beautiful.
like Mooney Falls and Havasu Falls.
Beautiful.
Number 8. E. coli. E. coli are bacteria that are found in the environment, in foods, and in the intestines of people and animals. Ew.
Right.
These are actually a big group of bacteria, and most of them won't really do all that much harm. There are some that are super dangerous, though, and some cause urinary tract infections, while others can cause pneumonia or other respiratory illnesses, and many others will give you a dose of the runs or even worse. So for the most part, people will generally want to avoid consuming anything that has been contaminated with E. coli, because it can make you sick and sometimes it can make you very, very sick. A news report from back in August of 2023 revealed that E. coli bacteria had been found in water at the bottom of the canyon close to Phantom Ranch. That is the only lodging located in the bottom of the canyon.
Okay, so obviously there's something there that's like naturally occurring, or it could be some animal or multiple animals that are there just basically defecating or urinating into the water itself, right? Something, most likely, right? Or something. Never mind. Just don't drink the water, guys.
I mean, nobody wants to find E. coli
No.
anywhere. But call me old-fashioned, it seems that you probably shouldn't be going around guzzling the water that you find on the ground anywhere,
Right.
even in the Grand Canyon. So, boil any water that you scoop out of a puddle or whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure you even had to say that, right? But I'm sure that some people will do that.
Likely as not, the presence of E. coli in
Look at that brown water, bro. You drinking that? Are you drinking that?
water also indicates the presence of poop in that water, so you know.
Yeah.
Number 7. Salamander-like footprints. The oldest fossils to have been found in the Grand Canyon are between 1,200 million years old and 740 million years old. These are called stromatolites that are created in the limestone by photosynthesizing bacteria that is known as cyanobacteria. But there are also a lot of other fossils that show the progression of evolution of life on Earth through millions and millions of years in this extraordinary part of the planet. The Coconino sandstone across the canyon was made when wind across the sand dunes about 275 million years ago deposited the sand and the rock formation began. These layers of rock now have some of the most densely fossil-filled areas. There are lizard-like salamander sorts of footprints, for example, and for some, these have given creationists a stiffy. They love to argue that they know all about science and will gleefully poke an oar into stuff that they poo-poo, like the formation of rocks over millions of years, if they can say that it was because of Noah and the flood. So, inexplicably, they reckon that these footprints could have only happened after the flood, when the sand would have been wet. Because there is no other way to moisten sand other than the means of a biblical flood. It couldn't possibly be that the Grand Canyon area was once different and had an inland sea, and that the rocks were not yet formed. These footprints, therefore, could not have been made 270 million years ago. It must have only happened 6,000 years ago.
Oh, he is firing shots right now. Bro, you waited 20 minutes in to start firing shots, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, he's right, though, in this instance, at least, guys. I mean, so half the year I live in Spain, okay, specifically the south of Spain, Andalusia. There's a place there called El Turcal. It is like the top of the mountain, okay? Literally, the literal top of the mountain. And the interesting part about it is this, if you actually look it up, El Turcal, you'll see like these weird formations. These weird formations is because the top of that mountain was at one time underneath the ocean. And when I say top of the mountain, I mean like 5,000-6,000 feet up into the air, right? I mean, it looks like another planet almost, because again, that was underneath the sea. And it's the craziest thing in the world, bro. Right? But yeah, a lot of people try to say this is a flood situation, but it was like, yeah, I don't know if the water, but all right, let's get it.
They walked here really
was once
quickly
underwater.
after they got off the ark from Turkey. Because, all life that walked on the land was wiped out, except that those that Noah saved in the ark. So it all seems completely reasonable now, doesn't it? I mean, who really needs science anyways?
Oh, God. Like, see, I wouldn't have had that conversation. See, I let people believe whatever they want to believe. Seriously, do whatever you want to do with your life, right? I wouldn't even have that conversation, but you just did randomly in a video.
Number 6. American cheetah bones. During the last ice age, the Grand Canyon was stuffed full of creatures. The area was relatively mild in the weather department, and as such, there was a lush green area that was full of plant life in order to attract the herbivores. And what with all the herbivores wandering about there were also plenty of predators on the lookout for their next meal as well. One such predatory species was the now extinct American cheetah. These big cats actually went extinct at the end of the Pleistocene era. A discovery in the caves of the Grand Canyon was made by scientists who had been revisiting some bones that had previously been labeled as belonging to mountain lions. It turned out that these bones were actually those of American cheetah, and rather than them having expired in the caves, it seems they likely met their maker elsewhere, and their old bones were dragged into the caves by other animals who had scavenged them. How nice! Number 5. Vishnu Temple. This is a 7,533-foot elevation summit in Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona. Named somewhat incongruously for the Hindu deity Vishnu, the redeemer of the universe. Okay. It was given its moniker by a man named Clarence Dutton in 1880. This was the beginning of the naming of mountains in the Grand Canyon after mythological gods, and the mountain was named thus as Dutton said that he thought it looked like the shape of a pagoda. It still seems incongruous, but alright. The summit is made of the Permian Coconino sandstone that we've already seen in a bunch today, and Kebab limestone caprock. Depending on how you look at it, it could appear like a natural pyramid or perhaps even a pagoda, if you especially wanted it to be. But what do you think?
I wonder if that's what a lot of people are talking about, at least, right? So, people will randomly say there are pyramids in the Grand Canyon. Is this what they're talking about? Because, bro, I've never seen a pyramid in the Grand Canyon. They're like, oh, it's in a part of the canyon where you can't get to. Is this what they're talking about, bro? Because I mean, I guess, but it's natural, right? But I wonder.
You reckon a good name for this would have been? Go on and let me know your opinions in the comment section down below, if you will.
I would have named
Number 4. The Coconino Sandstone. Well, it's turned up repeatedly in one way or another throughout today's list, so let's give this rock its very own section, shall we? The Coconino Sandstone is the formation of rock that is named after Coconino County in Arizona, which is where it's situated. The geological formation actually spreads all the way from the Colorado Plateau across Arizona, the northwest of Colorado, and Utah and Nevada. This type of rock can be seen vividly inside the Grand Canyon, where it appears as a white cliff-forming layer in the rock. It can vary in thickness throughout the area because of other variations in the features of the geology.
Prints in sand. This is what it looks like in sand.
For example, it appears at only 65 feet thick at the western part of the Grand Canyon, but it is as deep as 600 feet in thickness in the middle portion of the canyon, and then it thins out again in the east to just 57 feet in thickness. The rock is comprised of fine sand made from quartz grains and a small amount of potassium and feldspar. This type of rock began formation around 275 million years ago, and it's one of the ways that geological and natural history of the Grand Canyon has been most readily viewed. The rock has preserved many structural features like fossil tracks, as we have seen already, and ripple marks, as well as rain patches and sand dune deposits. Who knew that a lump of big old rock could be so very interesting? Number 3. Grand Canyon Vandalism. Why in the world would anyone want to go around vandalizing a national treasure? Well,
it happens all around the world. All around the world. I mean, I want to hear what he has to say here, but it happens all around the world. I was recently in the castle in Granada, Alhambra. And the locals are so used to it, right? They're just like, oh, whatever, it's another castle. Like one of the hundreds of castles you'll see on the way from, again, the south of Spain, Malaga area at least, up to Granada, hundreds of castles. You think they care about seeing castles, bro? No, we care about seeing castles, right? So yeah, there's all types of vandalism on all of these like UNESCO World Heritage sites, guys. I don't know.
That's beyond.
It's the craziest thing in the world.
To me. But wherever you go, there are always idiots, and for some reason, many of them seem to be incapable of controlling themselves.
Okay.
These two numpties were caught on camera when they decided that they should write on the sacred rocks of Moran Point at the edge of the viewpoint across the canyon. Perhaps they misread the name and thought that it was an invitation for morons to go ahead and do their thing.
Well played.
In fact, Moran Point was named after Thomas Moran, an artist who painted landscapes of the western United States back in the 1800s. But anyways, these two idiots were soon to be the subject of a news report in which they were accused of defacing a national monument, and they became the figureheads of stupidity. Their mothers must be so proud of them. Number 2. The Megalod Monster.
Right, though?
Bigfoot or Sasquatch is a legendary and incredibly shy sort of creature that is said to inhabit remote wilderness areas, mostly in North America. Bigfoot is described as a large ape-like being, and for some reason, this creature has caught the imaginations of people for centuries. Numerous alleged sightings, footprints, and blurry photographs, and they're always blurry, even
Always blurry.
now with all the HD stuff we have,
Oh, yeah.
have fueled
Oh,
the
yeah.
ongoing debate about its existence. While mainstream science dismisses the creature as a product of folklore and misidentifications, believers argue that the vast unexplored wilderness provides ample hiding places for such a creature, which is a reasonably compelling argument.
They range from about this tall to about 8 feet.
However, people have dedicated their lives to searching for Bigfoot, and still the myth remains. Well, simply a myth. It could be that this is the shyest animal ever, or, I hate to disappoint you, it
It's
could
fake.
be all a load of old cobblers. But
Right.
go ahead and have all your opinions about Bigfoot and this grainy, fuzzy imagery, if you will. This is the Mongolian monster, also known as the Arizona Bigfoot. It is said to be over 7 feet tall and reported to have red eyes and be covered in long black or reddish-brown hair, and is said to be very, very smelly indeed. The Arizona Bigfoot has been reportedly seen all along the Mogollon Rim, hence where the moniker of the creature comes from. Number 1. Archaeological.
Listen, if Bigfoot was real, I think we would have gotten some type of evidence by now, bro. We're talking bones, even just something. Something. We've been looking at it for too long, okay?
Sites. The Grand Canyon is a place that is home to masses upon masses of history. It's not only the place of hugely significant geological discoveries, but it is also the location of many an archaeological site that gives historians insight into human history that existed in the area. One such excavation began back in 2008 when archaeologists began to dig at 2 sites that were located along the Colorado River.
This has been a natural break here. This room.
Over the course of 3 years, they then uncovered masses of evidence of human habitation along the Colorado River corridor in the Grand Canyon. In fact, they found evidence that would suggest that the area had been inhabited by as many as 6 different and very distinct groups of people over the span of 3,500 years. The canyon continues to reveal more about our own human history, as well as the bigger histories of the natural world around us. It is a unique place that can teach us so many things about the vast and incredible life on our planet.
Definitely. I'll give you that.
That's all from our expedition into the Grand Canyon for today, along with its many mysteries. Which of these incredible discoveries interests you the most?
Guys, really quickly. I do not know much at all about the Grand Canyon. I've always looked at it. It has always been something that has completely been breathtaking based off the sheer size and scale of it. Completely, right? Obviously, in my head, I'm like, yeah, obviously they're going to find some type of, fossils there. I think probably pretty much mostly that's what they're going to find there, right? I mean, people have been living within that region for a really, really, really long time. So probably some ancient pottery or things like that also is going to be available there also, guys. But yeah, I mean, it still intrigues me. I still would like to know exactly what that pyramid that people are generally always talking about, that's hidden there somewhere, guys. I want to know. So if you know, let me know in the comments, please, guys, right? And if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. The more that you like this type of content, the more that I know that you want to see more of this type of content, guys, right? But right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.